Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending our forum this afternoon for UCD. I want to keep it as relatively casual as possible. We have 4 questions to kind of guide the conversation, and how we're going to do it is from about now to 1:55-ish, we'll have a general discussion amongst the entire group with a short break. And then we will move into a breakout discussion where you'll continue to be discussing the same questions, just in more context with your particular area. And then another short break before just kind of coming back together to share our final thoughts. We also appreciate you coming with us today. This is the first time that we have held this kind of event, especially it being free and open to anyone working in academic libraries. This year has definitely been one of innovations and trying new things as we go. So there will be a feedback form at the end, so I do hope that y'all take the time and share your feedback with us. So on that note, I will get us started with our first question. What are some ways that you have been able to transform typically physical positions into remote capable positions? Anyone can feel free to go ahead and start chatting.
I have, ever since spring break, up until the beginning of the fall semester, had my phone routed to my personal phone so that no matter where I was at, that I wouldn't miss any calls. And I 2 hours before my son's wedding, I got a reference call from a man in Maryland who was interested in a book that we have. So I fielded that reference call there. There was another time.
Very dedicated, Philip.
There was another time I was taking care of some business. Actually, I was delivering the stained glass to Norman, and I got a call from one of our students who was wanting to know if the Stafford building was open. And I have had, administrators call about different things, and at least one faculty member. So I'm glad I did that, but I don't think it's sustainable to do all of the time once everything, campus was open.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that you were able to get, find the resources you needed to be able to answer their questions quickly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
With that one in particular, because I was in Ponca City and, like in a, I was not in a place where I had my computer, then I was able to get his contact information and to take care of him first thing the next morning.
Oh, good. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this question? I know that this is definitely, like when we closed, it was definitely challenging suddenly going from everyone working in the office to, okay, how can all these people work from home now?
We shifted our, traditionally we would teach in class, so we shifted all of our instruction, except first year, which anyway, we shifted all of our instruction to be virtual. So, and in order to do that, we created kits because not all the classrooms were Zoom rooms. So we created kits that could be sent from the physical location of the library through interoffice mail that contained like all the handouts, physical handout packets for students, as well as a webcam with instructions, and that would be sent to the faculty member if they weren't already in the Zoom room or they didn't already have a webcam capability, so that we could teach virtually. And that also worked out well because it worked out well. Like it worked, let's say that. But it worked out well in that a lot of students were Zooming from home. So we were able to then also share our screens with them because a lot of classes that were meant to be in person inevitably would periodically have someone who was maybe quarantined or they couldn't come in for any number of reasons, and so they could still attend the class, and they were Zooming in, and then they were also able to work with us directly. When we were off-site, we did the same thing. We rerouted our phones to our personal devices, and it worked, but I would say that's probably one of the most substantial ones. We sent out an email to faculty letting them know that we were offering exclusive. I am so sorry. That's
it's fine.
Options. Yeah. Anyway, so that's it.
Anyone else have any follow-up thoughts to Michelle's comments?
At our library, we have a shared drive that we use that has a lot of like procedural files and statistic files, spreadsheets, things that multiple people use. And, that wasn't accessible from home. So last year we actually had already started using Microsoft Teams, but we really ramped up our usage of that platform when people started working from home so that we could share files on there.
Was there a reason you decided to do that instead of like Google Drive?
Well, our institution uses all Microsoft stuff. We use Microsoft Outlook for our email, and they really encourage us to use Microsoft products. And we just figured it would be easiest to kind of stick with the institutional stuff so that we can sort of make it mesh well with other things that we're doing on, with other groups on campus.
Did something kind of similar. We had about 1 day's warning before we all were told we couldn't work on campus anymore, because it happened during our spring break. And so, like I said, we had like 1 day warning. And so I spent part of that day moving everything that I could from our shared drive that all the library employees can access to a shared OneDrive for the library staff. So like most of the folders still have my name and the date of March 16th attached to them. So it looks like I did all of this stuff, and in fact all I did was move folders and files. But that was one way. There were a few things that several people had to have VPN to be able to do their work from off campus, like our catalogers had to have VPN because we were still using Voyager at that point. And we are really thankful that we are now no longer using Voyager, and we are using WMS, and so they are able to do stuff from home. A couple of our librarians are only coming to campus like 1 day a week. So they are able to do most of their stuff from home, including all their reference hours. All of our references now virtual. So our director and I are the librarians who are here most often. She's here 5 days a week and I'm here 4, and our circulation staff are here 4 days a week because a lot of their job is, of course, public service, and we do have students on campus. But we did our best. We did have to furlough some staff over the summer, but now that classes are back in person, they're all back. So
Kristen,
one of them are back. One position was terminated, and that was not our doing. That was a budgetary thing. So
I was just curious, Kristen, where are you from? What college? What
sorry, Oklahoma City University.
Oh, okay. I'm Linda from Rose State College.
All right.
And basically, our library never closed. A lot of 3 out of the 4 librarians were able to opt to work remotely, and we could VPN if we needed to. But otherwise, our library director and our LRC dean pretty much ran the library here because administration demanded that it remain open for students to be able to come in. They were supposed to just be here for academic use, on the computers briefly and whatever, but we had people here, maybe 7 or 8 people throughout the entire day, using the computers. So, but everybody, admin said everybody had to be back working on site as of July 6th. So we've been fully open, and are now fully open, including to community members here at Rose State in the library. So in terms of transforming physical positions, we were very easily, the librarians that work from home, we never had any problem because we could VPN if we needed to. And we had a way to, either chat with students or set up through LibCal. We were able to do, research appointments and things like that. So it was very, remote friendly in terms of seemed like there were many things that we could do remotely. But now, again, right now we're 100% back, and I don't know if there are any plans to do anything otherwise.
All right. So for the sake of time, let's move on to the next question, and this is an interesting one. The science on COVID-19 is constantly updating. Have you found it difficult to quickly respond to new scientific knowledge as it is released, whether it's by the CDC or through the Realm Project? And if so, how? And if not, how are you handling it? Anyone?
We created a LibGuide where we linked over to that. I think it's it's right here on our main website, like right at the top above our search box, and you click on it, and it has our policies that we have set up because we are open now. It has like a breakdown, but then with lists of available services and things like that. And that has remained standard. So that's like our COVID response, the libraries specifically. And then under our GovDocs government information page, she had for a while, she's recently removed it. She had a thing up there specifically about COVID, and it had links to the CDC. It's easier to just link right to the sources themselves rather than us trying to make summaries. Because we don't have time to update that. And as you said, it does change so quickly that it wasn't practical. So, anywho, that's what we did.
Yeah, personally, my biggest struggle has been adjusting the quarantine lengths because, the quarantine length has kind of fluctuated as, new information has been released in, I want to say the biggest impact with, the changes to quarantine lengths is just finding space to quarantine items. We're lucky that we have a locked room that we were able to repurpose into a quarantine room, but then it's kind of caused some chaos as things are out of their workflow and we're a department of highly organized catalogers. Has anyone else had any experiences, thoughts on, dealing with the quarantine recommendations for library materials?
I think I misunderstood the question, but yeah, we have carts that have dates on them, and they really confuse me. I don't work at the front desk, but when I do, I'm like, where do I put this? And somebody has to tell me. So
we created a fake patron, like that's his name, fake patron, and it checks out to quarantine, and then we just bought 7 big clear plastic buckets and labeled them with the days of the week. And when they come in, we just throw stuff in that bucket, and then when it's time for the week to be up, we take that bucket out to the student workers and let them check it all in, because it's the only way we've been able to figure it out with our workflow and our staffing.
My understanding has been we have ours still checked out to our patrons, but we waive any fines that may appear.
I was going to say also in relation to the Realm Project, OCLC's been sending out, because we're WMS, so they send out every time there's a realm update. And then the Northeast Document Conservation Center sends them out as well. So it's been really easy for me to stay on top of it because they're pushing the info out to me via email. So I don't know if any of y'all are subscribed to the NEDCC email or not, but that's been really useful.
Cool. Can you drop that in the chat for us, JJ, the name of that? The chat is always a handy tool to have. All right. Well, I think let's touch on the next one, because like I said, we'll have more time to discuss in detail. How has your campus population responded to changes in your library services? What have been some of the challenges that your library has had to overcome in response?
Like I said, we lost one staff person, and as a result, we had to reduce our open hours slightly. Because that had been one of our night staff, and so instead of being open till midnight 5 days a week, we're now only open until 10 o'clock. The biggest impact for us has probably been our study room checkout policies. Sort of in response, we've altered them once or twice since we started the semester, but right now what we are doing is that our rooms used to check out for 2 hours, and you could only reserve 2 hours a day, but if nobody had reserved it after you, you could renew it sort of on the fly. So we've gone to a 4-hour checkout with a 3-hour buffer period in between reservations. So we were told by our facilities people that our air circulation refreshes the air 6 times an hour, and they have UV lights in our HVAC system. So, you know, with 3 hours, then it's been refreshed and zapped 18 times at least.
All right. Anyone else zapping things?
One of our student workers or staff goes in during that 3-hour interval and disinfects the surfaces as well. So, you know, we feel we're doing pretty well, but it does mean that a lot fewer people can use the room in a day. It's, you know, maybe 2 or at the most 3 different individuals or groups. And they're not real happy about that. You know, we have quite a few students who are, you know, very disappointed that they can't get a room or they can't renew their room, or they come and say, but there's nobody in it, why can't I have it? So that honestly is our biggest challenge, more than like book circulation and quarantine, is the study rooms.
One challenge
sorry.
No, go ahead, Casey.
One challenge that we've experienced is that a lot of our courses this semester are online or blended. And so the faculty are being forced to try to come up with materials that are electronic in format so that students can access them from anywhere without having to come to the library if they're not. There are some students who are taking all online classes this semester who maybe normally wouldn't. And so a lot of those students aren't even living on campus like they normally would. So in particular, one thing that a lot of faculty have needed help with is finding streaming videos that they can use in classes. And there are some faculty that I've worked with who used to use a lot of DVDs, and you can't really use a DVD in an online class. It's not really a thing. So that's been kind of a challenge.
All
I had a question, Shay. And this goes for everyone. As instructors are doing more things online, having to shift to online classes, and they're using more things like those streaming services, have you found that your costs have jumped up dramatically from some of these streaming vendors, and how that's affected budgets?
That's a great question.
I don't know if you guys use Canopy, but Canopy's actually lowered the prices of a lot of their films, and I was super confused because
they did like a special thing during this time when a lot of libraries were closed to the public, and I know before they were like $150 a film, and they lowered it to $100.
Well, so I asked about that, and it actually changes per film, apparently.
They have a tier system now.
Yeah. We got some for like 75, and we were able to get it. Luckily, found out that one we could get for 3 years for like 110. So we went ahead and got it because she uses it like every year or whatever. But that has helped us stretch our budget. I mean, we do the deposit. We do mediated for Canopy. We learned our lesson.
We did. We've changed our model back in February as well from the PDA model.
Yeah.
But I wondered.
We definitely put a limit, on how much we could spend. We were pretty upfront about it because we'd also got academic video online, the Avon subscription. So we pushed them really hard to that and told them. And every time they're like, oh, that's there. So, that's over 70,000 films. And so they're starting to catch on, which is causing us to spend less. But you just got to keep routing them there. And that's what we've had to do because we can't afford, we have X amount for Canopy or any other streaming video service.
We did that too. Well, anytime now that when we switched our model in Canopy, I see those Canopy requests and I search and I see if we have it available on Films on Demand or Avon or another platform, then the requester gets notified that it's available in these other platforms. So we're already routing them to other sources where those titles may be. But I was just wondering, just overall, if you subscribe to not just Canopy, but multiple streaming services, and the use has jumped up by quite a bit, if that's having impacts on budgets for everything else.
Yes. Janan, I'm going to let y'all continue that conversation in one of the breakout rooms. It is now 1:55, and I do want to make sure people get their 5-minute break. And so when we come back at 2 o'clock, I will start the breakout rooms, and I think we have generated a lot of good discussion. And this last question, I think we will save for the wrap-up. And I hope that everyone is finding this productive so far, and I will see everyone in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, this is great, incidentally. I had not tried a breakout room before, and I love it.
This is my first time using it, too, and I am pleasantly surprised with how easy it was to do because I've seen other Zoom hosts kind of struggle with it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is easy. I'm like, I might do this more often.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're planning a workshop, and I'm convinced now we can get it to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is on the OLA account, so OLA's account definitely has the capability.
Good deal.
So I figured for our wrap-up, I realized that the last question, I think, would be a good way to wrap things up. Just as a general discussion, is what changes have you made in your libraries that you foresee continuing in the future, pandemic or not?
One thing that I actually forgot to mention in our small group, but I will mention now, is we got a bunch of tablets that are going to be available for checkout. And we did not have them before, but COVID-19 helped us realize we really need them because we have a lot of students at ECU who don't have their own tablet or laptop, or they don't have their own device. So it's difficult for them to do an online class.
Yeah.
So we were able to find some funds in the university budget. Admin was willing to work with us to kind of find some funding for it. And so we got a bunch of new tablets that are going to be available for checkout. So that's really, really awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. We we have gone with where we have some older, I think, spares. The main library's checking out for long-term semester for at least some machines, and they had a lottery for that. But and of course, since we've basically shut down a whole lot of our computer lab, it makes it a little different.
For me personally, it's made me realize that remote work for some of my staff is more possible than I would have thought it would be.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of miss working from home.
Me too.
Yeah.
I liked working from home, so I was a little bit bummed over the summer when I had to come back.
Yeah.
I was dreading coming back for a while, but then I was just starting to get burnt out from going back and forth, and I'm like, I don't mind being back 5 days a week. I can live.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, if this had to happen, at least it happened now when we have all this technological capability, and this didn't happen like in 1988 or something before there was all of this technological all the technology that we have now.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't care for just working at home at all. In fact, it was so claustrophobic that once a day I would take a drive around the town just to be outside of my house. But, the thing is, we have learned ways of using technologies that we might not have been inclined to do because we like to deal with people personally. And it's probably a good thing that we are taking the leap into these new skills with technologies that, especially in a world in which the universities and colleges are having to compete online, it's really a good thing, actually, to have the skills and to continue to use them.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently the number of students is kind of predicted to decline. So this may be as good as it gets as far as college enrollments.
Enrollment is a big issue for us too.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop. In about 5 years, it's going to get even worse.
Yeah, that trend's already underway. I've got documentation on it and been studying it for assessment, and it's been underway, and you've got places closing and going bankrupt.
Yeah,
even without this. So
I think the community colleges can do a lot to keep themselves going, just because you don't have quite the load of academia and research funding now. I'm not crazy about closing down major universities, but I think you guys are well positioned to really bloom. I'm being enthusiastic, but
and we don't have dormitories and residences, and in some cases
football stadiums,
athletic teams and stadiums. It's
and that's a major hit for especially the big conference teams all over.
Esports should grow.
Yeah, we actually just started an esports program last year.
Yeah, we've had one for a couple years now.
Oh, yeah.
That's one sport that is pretty COVID safe.
Yeah.
Surprisingly,
I know whenever anyone says esports, I'm like, oh yeah, video games.
Surprisingly, it's less safe than you would think because ideally, when you're doing esports, you do have people in the same room because technology is fairly sophisticated and expensive. So you're not going to have like 19 different installations of it. But yeah.
They revamped our esports area, and so everything's like, it was a huge room already, so now everybody's just like super spread out.
One thing that I would like to see continue, I feel like it's too early to say whether or not it will, is having meetings virtually, especially committee meetings. Yes. I feel like I'm a lot more effective in my committees having virtual meetings than I was going somewhere face to face. Also, I kind of like just being in my office for my meeting, and then I can mute myself. And then if someone's talking about something that doesn't matter to me, I can answer an email or something. And I really like that, and I would like that to continue.
Yeah, I was going to say I have loved it for my one-on-ones with my staff, because then I can share my screen, and if they're having problems, we can work through stuff together. Like, I feel like because of doing them virtually, my one-on-ones are like far more productive now, and I'm not having to take out like extra time to train someone or show something. I can just incorporate that time into our usual weekly, hey, what's going on with you stuff.
Yeah. I do feel like we get off track less. It feels like whenever we would have meetings all in our conference room, like come 3 o'clock, people just couldn't keep it together. But it seems like everybody wanted to take a nap, they needed their coffee, whatever. But now with it being virtual, much less of a problem. We're more productive.
Yeah.
I hope moving forward, not just with our libraries, but looking at things from a balancing work-life scenario, that there can just be more grace that's given to us as people for ourselves, like for us to be able to take more time for ourselves and use, like, I need to work from home today, and to have supporters, have bosses that are supportive of that. At universities, in general, of can you be just as efficient working from home if you have a sick kid, if you're feeling a little under the weather, whatever the circumstances are. So I hope that will continue to be able to have some remote capabilities now that everything is amped up. I was telling the folks in my roundtable, which I had to pop out of Zoom to another one, and I'm back. It was a lot shorter than I thought. I was really excited. I'm like, I can go back to our OLA thing. But knowing that now we have voice connectivity with remote phones, voicemails mapped to our email if we miss a call on our work landline, just so many things that you basically can have the same setup-ish. And so I'm hopeful, because I do have some colleagues that are continuing to have to work from home because of health-related concerns. Yeah. And I, like some of you, I really like being back. I like the consistency. I like my little cozy workspace. I was very glad to work from home, but I'm also very glad that I have the ability to be back, but to still know that if there could be a interchangeable remote working circumstance, I think that would just be a very valued thing for people to not feel like they're completely out of the loop, but to take breaks as they need. I appreciated that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think empathy overall, that I think we've learned from this pandemic, understanding people's circumstances, especially here. We're at OSU IT. We have a lot of people who are rural and live in the country. It doesn't matter if you have a hot spot because it still doesn't work, so we don't have the infrastructure in these areas that have the ability to do online classes. And so we had to be really, with our professors and with the instructors, had to be a lot more lenient because their student had to go find a McDonald's somewhere or hitchhike to town or whatever just to get their schoolwork done. And again, understanding and listening to people's, again, plead your case kind of stories and be able to have a little more empathy for some folks. And ourselves.
I would like to see flexibility in meetings going forward, because I agree that a lot of the time the Zoom meetings can really be more efficient. And they certainly, if somebody or some portion of the group meeting needs to be at home or whatever, that's obviously the best, if not only way to do it. On the other hand, I normally have a regular meeting with the circulation staff every week, and it's not usually very long, but we used to meet in person, and once a month we had a food meeting, and I would bring in a snack for everybody, and we rotated through who got to choose what it was, and then I would make it and bring it in. And I really miss that. I mean, because part of the reason we had those weekly meetings was, quite honestly, the social part. To connect as people so that we worked together as a team better as employees. And we can't do that anymore. And, I really miss that particular in-person meeting. And that's not something we can do via Zoom. A lot of my other meetings I'm very happy to do via Zoom.
Yes, we all miss Kristen's cookies. I can't
say that.
We can't have Kristen's cookies virtually.
No.
There's got to be a way.
I'm not even allowed to have my candy dish out, with wrapped candies in it. We're not allowed to have that even. So
yeah, we're not. Does anybody need some pomegranates? I've got a tree full, and I think they're sour though. I'll mail them to you.
Well, for those of us who have antisocial tendencies, social distancing is not difficult at all. I'll have to say that.
All right, I have to jump out for a faculty senate meeting, so I will talk to you people later. Thank you, Shay.
Enjoy.
Faculty senate is one of those.
I was about to say, because it's more or less 3:00. If you have a chance, please fill out the post-evaluation survey. I will send it as a follow-up, and we will be sending follow-up with kind of summaries and information for folks to kind of, remember what we talked about today. So I really appreciate everyone coming to UCD's first open forum, and I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their afternoon.
Thank you, Shay, for organizing this for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
It's a real service. Great.
Bye.